A decision gets made in a room that looks open. Everyone is polite. Everyone is smiling. One man speaks carefully, almost modestly, and says very little. He asks one clarifying question, nods, lets the others talk, then closes with something clean and harmless. We should move carefully on this. Nothing in the sentence sounds hostile. Nothing in his face gives you a target. Then the meeting ends. A different man walks out with a strange feeling he cannot prove. No one argued with him. No one insulted him. But suddenly replies are slower. The next conversation happens without him. A detail he thought was still under discussion is now treated as settled. A door that looked open an hour ago is closed in a way nobody will openly admit. And the worst part is this: if he objects too early, he will look unstable, petty, defensive. So he waits. And by the time he has enough evidence to describe what happened, the real decision has already hardened around him. This video is about that kind of man, how quiet brutality works, why it is so difficult to confront in real time, how cunning men find weak points before they move, and how they gain control without ever needing to look openly violent. Machiavelli understood something most people still resist. Effective cruelty does not always arrive as open attack. In modern life, it often arrives through appearances, timing, selective access, and pressure hidden inside civility. Let's begin. Chapter 1. He studies before he touches anything. The cunning man does not begin with force. He begins with reconnaissance. Most men imagine danger starts when pressure becomes visible. It usually starts while nothing visible is happening at all. No threat, no accusation, no conflict. Just a man watching, listening, and storing what everyone else is leaking for free. He is not trying to understand your soul. He is trying to locate your predictability. Who needs approval from the room? Who cannot tolerate delayed replies? Who over-explains the moment the atmosphere becomes unclear? Who rushes to prove loyalty before loyalty was ever questioned? Who treats access like affection? Who starts bargaining against himself just to end vagueness? Who cannot bear the idea that something important might happen without him? That is the map. A vain man is easy to steer with praise. A guilty man is easy to steer with suggestion. A lonely man is easy to steer with selective warmth. An impatient man is easy to rush. A man ruled by fear of exclusion is easy to cool out. A man addicted to certainty is easy to bleed through ambiguity. This is why the cunning man often asks very little. He knows the less he says, the more other people start explaining themselves. He lets one man prove he is dependable, another man prove he is connected, another prove he is useful, another prove he is harmless, another prove he belongs. To most people, this just looks like conversation. To him, it is extraction. Watch what happens when he replies late a few times. One man sends a follow-up too quickly. Another softens his tone. Another offers more than was requested. Another becomes suddenly eager, as if speed will buy certainty. He learns who chases. He learns who apologizes for taking up space. He learns who mistakes mere responsiveness for approval. He also studies the room vertically, who actually carries weight, who only looks important, who is praised publicly but ignored privately, who can be embarrassed safely, and who must be handled carefully, who gets formal respect but no real protection, who gets no ceremony but has actual influence when doors close. That distinction matters. Surface hierarchy and operative hierarchy are not the same thing. The cunning man knows the difference early, and because this stage is observational, nobody feels attacked. That is part of the elegance. A loud man announces intent. A cunning man gathers leverage without creating an event. The first brutality is not what he does to you. It is what he learns about you before you know there is a contest. If he knows where you bend and you do not know he has noticed, the field is already uneven. If he knows you panic at silence, he never has to shout. If he knows you cannot stand exclusion, he never has to threaten. If he knows you need verbal reassurance, he can control you with scarcity rather than force. That is why patience is often misread as innocence. Sometimes it is discipline, sometimes it is hunger under control. He waits because predictability is more valuable than momentum. Once he knows what reliably pulls you forward, what reliably unsettles you, and what reliably makes you reveal more than you should, he no longer has to guess. and a man who no longer has to guess is already dangerous. Chapter 2. He looks too reasonable to accuse. After he reads the field, he protects himself, not with strength first, with accusation cost. He knows open hostility wakes people up. It sharpens memory. It creates witnesses. Even weak men become more careful when the aggression is obvious. So he does something smarter. He wraps intent in manners. He sounds constructive. He offers concern where another man would show contempt. He uses language that can always be walked backward later. That is not style. That is armor. A blunt enemy can be named. A polished enemy is protected by the room itself. When he says, "I just want to make sure this is fully thought through," he may be doing far more than sounding careful. He may be lowering confidence in another man without having to own the hit. When he says he has a lot of energy, he may be quietly moving that man from serious to immature. When he says, "I know his intentions are good," he may already be implying that competence is the real question. Notice the move. The sentence sounds clean. The social effect is not. He understands something many men learn too late. People do not respond only to content. They respond to placement. A remark can sound moderate while still pushing another man down a notch. And because the language is smooth, any strong reaction becomes risky. If you push too hard against a smiling man using professional words, you inherit the burden of proof. Now, the room is not asking what he was doing. The room is asking why you are so charged. That is his first defense line. He can make you look overeager, suspicious, political, unstable, difficult. Not by attacking you directly, but by forcing you to react against something too clean to hold. This is why his words are usually reversible. He prefers phrases that can wear two faces, one face for the immediate effect, another face for later denial. "I didn't mean it that way. You're reading too much into that. I thought I was being helpful. There seems to be some misunderstanding here." Those are not merely excuses. They are exit routes built in advance. His manners do another job too. They let him borrow legitimacy from composure. Most rooms still confuse controlled tone with fair intention. A man who stays steady under pressure gets extra credit, even when the steadiness is tactical. So, the target enters a trap. If he says nothing, the repositioning goes unchallenged. If he objects too early, he looks touchy. If he objects too late, the social impression has already settled. That is why quiet brutality often survives the early stage. It does not just hide from confrontation, it makes confrontation expensive, and this is where a lot of intelligent men lose. They keep waiting for the clear insult, the line you can quote, the sentence no one can defend, but a skilled operator rarely gives you that gift. He does not need naked offense. He only needs enough ambiguity that reasonable people keep extending him credit. That credit becomes cover. And while everyone is debating whether you are overreacting, he is still moving. Chapter 3. He changes the room before he makes the move. Now the method becomes structural. The cunning man does not like conflict on neutral ground. Neutral ground leaves too much alive, too many interpretations, too much chance that the target arrives with full standing. So before he applies open pressure, he redesigns the environment. He decides sequence, who hears what first, who gets context in private, who is softened before the official meeting, who enters already trusting him, who enters already slightly unsure of the target, who is absent when the real alignment forms. This is one of the cleanest modern weapons, because sequence rarely looks violent. It looks like administration, coordination, efficiency, a quick catch-up, a sidebar, just making sure everyone is on the same page. But sequence changes interpretation. If he speaks to 3 people before the formal discussion, then the 4th man is not entering a fresh room. He is entering a room with prior assumptions already installed. The conversation may sound open, but the reading has been loaded in advance. He uses side conversations disguised as professionalism or concern. He's talented, but he can be a little hard to align with. I may be wrong, but I think he's under some pressure right now. I just want to make sure we're all thinking carefully before this gets complicated. Each line is deniable. None of them are dramatic. But together they create a frame. People become less patient before anything has happened. They become less willing to wait for the target's side. They begin adjusting their expectations without ever saying they have done so. He also controls absence with precision. A meeting gets scheduled without the one person whose presence would slow the outcome. A key detail gets circulated in a smaller thread first. A decision is described as already moving before the target has even been consulted. Input is requested after momentum exists, not before. Technically, the process still looks inclusive. In reality, the structure has already decided whose presence matters. This is where many men get reduced without understanding how. They think they are being evaluated inside the meeting. Usually they were repriced before the meeting began, and once the room is loaded, resistance starts downhill. Others do not need to attack you openly. They only need to become slightly less charitable, slightly less patient, slightly less willing to hold space for your interpretation. That is enough. The cunning man may elevate one person with carefully placed praise while making another seem peripheral. He may repeatedly ask one man for judgment and treat another man's view as something that can be gathered later. He may put one person near the center of deliberation and another near the edge of information. Again, nothing looks dramatic. That is why it works. Reduction in sophisticated environments is rarely theatrical. It is cumulative. A missed invitation here, a private briefing there, a summary circulated without your framing in it, a practical decision made while your role is treated as non-essential. Individually, each event looks survivable. In sequence, they alter your status, and the target usually makes the same mistake. He keeps reading each incident alone. He does not yet see that perception has been preloaded. He still thinks the room is evaluating in real time. It is not. Much of the evaluation already happened off stage. That is what makes this chapter different from mere charm. He is no longer just appearing reasonable. He is arranging witness order, narrative order, and trust order before conflict can clarify itself. By the time the overt disagreement arrives, he is not fighting you in the room. He is fighting you through the room. Chapter 4. His force shows up as friction. This is the chapter most people miss because they are still looking for aggression. The weapon is friction, not noise, not obvious threats. Friction. The cunning man creates losses through delay, omission, uncertainty, and asymmetric flexibility. He makes your movement more expensive than his movement. And because the mechanism looks ordinary, bystanders often call it complexity instead of force. He answers after the useful window has narrowed. That matters because timing is a resource. If you need a decision by Thursday and he responds on Thursday night, he has not merely been slow. He has changed your negotiating position. Now you are compressed. You reveal urgency. You accept weaker terms to preserve motion. You become the side under pressure, while he remains the side with options. He keeps terms soft for himself and hard for you. You are expected to commit now. He is still thinking. You are expected to be precise. He keeps things loose. You must honor the date. He keeps the right to revisit, reinterpret, or delay. When that pattern repeats, it is not confusion. It is one-sided gain built into the process. He withholds clarity until commitment is expensive. That is one of the cleanest quiet weapons a man can use. Before you invest, everything sounds promising. After you invest time, effort, status, or money, the undefined parts suddenly matter. At that point, your ability to walk away is weaker, because leaving now carries a cost you have already paid to create. Look at how often this appears in ordinary life. A superior hints at opportunity, keeps you working toward it, then becomes difficult when the terms should be nailed down. A collaborator stays warm while your effort is needed, then turns vague when you ask what exactly was agreed. A woman or a man keeps a relational channel alive with just enough encouragement to prevent exit, but never enough clarity to allow equal footing. Different scene, same mechanism. He also uses omission as force. Critical information arrives late, not absent enough to accuse cleanly, just late enough that refusal becomes expensive. A detail you should have known before committing appears after public expectation has already formed. A change in terms is mentioned when backing out would now make you look unreliable. That is not mere inconvenience. That is cost transfer. And then there is silence. Silence is one of his most efficient instruments because people punish themselves inside it. The anxious man fills the gap with reassurance. The needy man fills it with concessions. The impatient man fills it with speed. The guilty man fills it with justification. The man who cannot bear uncertainty often starts reducing his own position, simply to end the suspense. The cunning operator understands this perfectly. He does not always force the concession. He creates the discomfort in which the concession becomes likely. That is why his brutality can remain socially acceptable. He is not always seen taking. Very often he is seen waiting, while the other man volunteers extra proof, extra flexibility, extra labor, extra loyalty. But look only at outcomes, and the violence becomes obvious. Time gets stolen. Alternatives narrow. Money gets misallocated. Confidence drops. Position weakens. One side is held to exact standards, while the other side keeps room to reinterpret. One side is forced to show need, while the other side profits from fog. That is force in modern form. Not the fist on the table, the hand that controls tempo, clarity, and reversibility. And because the tool is friction rather than spectacle, many victims keep trying to be understanding while the losses accumulate. They call it miscommunication, a busy season, a complicated process. Meanwhile, the structure keeps producing the same result. One side pays more to keep the channel alive. That is not confusion. That is pressure with manners. Chapter 5. He rules by rationing what you need. Pressure becomes rule the moment need enters the system. This is where the cunning man stops being merely difficult and becomes governing. He becomes truly dangerous when he controls something another person now depends on. Access, endorsement, introductions, inclusion, protection, emotional closure, a second chance, a future role, a path into a higher room. It can be social, romantic, professional, political. The form changes. The law does not. If he controls the scarce thing, he can train behavior without speaking like a tyrant. This is the dark elegance of rationing. He does not need to order you around if your future depends on remaining admissible to him. You start adjusting yourself in advance. You censor tone, you lower demands, you excuse disrespect, you overperform to avoid cooling the channel. You become careful in ways that have nothing to do with truth and everything to do with continued access. That is command without announcement. He may never say, "Prove your loyalty." Instead, access keeps opening slightly after submission and tightening slightly after independence. He may never say, "Do more." Instead, clarity stays just out of reach, so you keep giving more in hope that certainty is near. He may never say, "Do not challenge me." Instead, the reward remains conditional enough that challenge feels economically foolish. A lot of men miss how powerful ambiguity becomes here. Ambiguity is not only useful before dependence, it becomes even more useful after dependence, because uncertainty extracts effort. If you know the position is yours, you relax. If you know the invitation is real, you stop performing. If you know the relationship is secure, you negotiate. But if the reward always feels near and never guaranteed, you stay active, self-editing, and eager to remain in favor. That is why future opportunity is often more useful to a cunning man than present clarity. The future can be promised cheaply and used continuously. Watch how this changes the target from the inside. At first he asks, "Is this fair?" Then, after dependence forms, he asks, "Can I afford to lose this?" That shift is everything. Once a man starts protecting access rather than protecting position, obedience has begun, and the cruelty deepens because the target now helps stabilize his own reduction. He justifies delays. He reframes disrespect as pressure. He tells himself the gatekeeper is selective, busy, high standard, complex. He starts cooperating with smaller treatment because the scarce reward remains alive in his mind. This is why some brutal men are praised as discerning. They never need to bark. People train themselves around them. In a workplace, this may be the superior who controls advancement and keeps everyone uncertain enough that they compete for signals rather than negotiate terms. In a network, it may be the central man who controls introductions and uses distance to create obedience. In private life, it may be the person who withholds emotional certainty so effectively that the other side keeps surrendering dignity to preserve possibility. Once need is monopolized, quiet brutality no longer needs constant action. The system starts running on self-censorship. That is the point at which soft pressure becomes rule. Chapter 6. Why most men notice it after they are already smaller. Now we get to the reason this survives in ordinary life. Most men notice it late because by the time they can name it, they are already smaller, less central, less informed, less trusted, more reactive, and they got there by judging the wrong evidence. They judge tone over incentives, statements over sequence, incidents over patterns. They ask whether something sounded rude instead of asking who gained leverage. They look for visible hostility while the actual coercion is moving through timing, access, ambiguity, and dependency. Modern institutions make this easier for the cunning man because they are better at detecting heat than calibration. A threat is legible, a tantrum is legible, open contempt is legible. But a pattern of delayed responses before decision points, a series of omissions that always seem to land in one direction, a man who stays agreeable while controlling who gets brought in, who gets briefed, and who gets certainty. That often survives because each piece looks too small in isolation. So the target does what decent men are taught to do. He gives the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was accidental. Maybe he is busy. Maybe that meeting really was a scheduling issue. Maybe the vague wording means nothing. Maybe I am overreacting. One time. That can be maturity. Repeated over a sequence, it becomes self-disarmament. This is the blind spot. The room keeps asking for one dramatic offense. The operator keeps winning through a string of small losses that all point the same way. And there is another reason detection fails. Men often confront intention instead of structure. They ask, "Did you mean to do that?" That is a weak question. Intent is soft, debatable, and flattering to discuss. Structure is harder. If every important answer reaches you late, if every commitment stays vague until your withdrawal becomes expensive, if every major conversation somehow loads the room before you arrive, if every access path runs through one selectively responsive man, then the pattern is the proof. Whether he smiles while doing it changes very little, but rooms prefer intention arguments because intention can be denied. Structure has to be audited. And most people are too lazy, too polite, or too conflict-averse to audit sequence, access, and asymmetry carefully. So the operator survives under a familiar shield. He looks reasonable enough, and no single move feels dramatic enough. By the time someone finally says, "Something is wrong here," his position is already weaker. He is already less central, less trusted, less informed, more reactive, more cautious, smaller. That word matters, smaller, because that is often the real outcome before the victim has language for it. Not a grand defeat, a reduction. Less freedom of movement, less confidence in his reading, less willingness to speak hard truths at the right time. He becomes narrower, while the other man becomes harder to pin down. And once a man has been made smaller, even accurate protest can be framed as bitterness. That is why this form of brutality is so effective. It does not need a dramatic collapse. It only needs a sequence that keeps changing what resistance costs. Most men notice at the end because they were trained to look for incidents. The cunning man wins through patterns. Chapter 7. Deny him deniable leverage. So what is the answer? Not moral outrage, not theatrical confrontation, not long debates about whether he is secretly a bad person. The answer is to deny him the conditions that make quiet pressure cheap, reversible, and socially protected. Start with timelines and terms. If someone profits from vagueness, pin the calendar. Ask for dates, not atmosphere. Ask what exactly happens, by when, under which terms, and with whose confirmation. A soft promise is not progress. It is a field where asymmetry grows, and do not keep investing into a shape that has not been defined. Clarify the agreement before more time, money, labor, reputation, or emotion goes in. If someone resists definition while welcoming your continued commitment, that is not ambiguity to admire. That is leverage under construction. Put important commitments where they can be compared later, not because formalism is virtuous, but because deniable men live off memory drift. Writing hardens sequence. It shows what changed, when it changed, and who kept flexibility while demanding yours. Next, break dependence. Do not let one man become the only path to something that matters. Build parallel channels, more than one relationship, more than one information source, more than one route to opportunity. A single gatekeeper can turn your need into obedience. Multiple paths cut his power at the root, and do not reveal need too early. This is where many men hand over the knife. The moment he knows you badly want the deal, the answer, the room, the endorsement, or the closure, he knows exactly where silence will hurt. So reverse the order whenever possible. Get clarity before disclosure, secure terms before exposing appetite. Need shown too early invites pressure, then audit the structure, not the mood. Treat ambiguity as a tax, not as mystery, not as depth, not as something sophisticated men are supposed to decode forever. If the same person repeatedly keeps the terms loose while expecting steady investment from you, ambiguity is not neutral. You are paying for his optionality, and before confronting, step back and inspect the pattern. Who knew what when? Who heard which version first? Where did the delay appear? Where was certainty withheld? Where was your commitment expected while his remained loose? Do not confront the vibe. Confront the arrangement, then test him under clarity. Some men are powerful only when everything is soft, private, and hard to pin down. Tighten the frame and watch him. Ask for specifics in front of relevant people. Request confirmation in writing. Create symmetrical deadlines. Reduce his room to reinterpret later. If his behavior changes sharply under clarity, then clarity was the thing he was avoiding. And stop feeding the mechanism. Do not over-explain to a man who studies explanation. Do not overchase a man who profits from pursuit. Do not fill every silence. Do not keep sweetening terms because the atmosphere became uncertain. Every unnecessary concession teaches him how cheaply you can be moved. And finally, do not argue about whether a pattern is real while remaining inside the pattern. That is another trap. Men keep debating the meaning of repeated asymmetry while still depending on the asymmetrical channel. If the structure keeps reducing you, your first task is not philosophical clarity. It is strategic distance. The goal is not to become paranoid. The goal is to become expensive to quietly reduce. That is the right standard. Not invulnerability, not moral superiority, structural hardness. If he cannot use your uncertainty, if he cannot monopolize access, if he cannot keep you in soft dependence, if he cannot delay you into concession, then much of his elegance dies on contact. He reads weakness. He hides behind reasonableness. He loads the room. He applies friction through time and terms. He turns need into obedience, and he survives. Because most people judge incidents instead of patterns. Here is the final truth. In modern life, the most dangerous man is the one who can quietly redesign what resistance costs while still looking fair enough to keep moving without punishment. Subscribe and like if you want to see power before it closes around you. Clean. Proof usually comes late. Comment the first sign of deniable pressure you learn to stop ignoring.